There are signings that excite, and then there are signings that strengthen a project. Because while half of Europe was still keeping an eye on Julian Alvarez, Barça was working quietly to secure the player Hansi Flick considers a key piece for his new team. And yes, Anthony Gordon is the new player for FC Barcelona. Just a few minutes ago, he signed a contract through 2031. He has already posed with the Blaugrana jersey, and while you're watching this video, he's probably already giving his first press conference as an official Barcelona player. But pay attention, because the story behind this signing is much more incredible than it seems. Because just a few days ago, no one imagined that Barcelona could complete an 80 million euro signing before the World Cup. And yet Deco has done it again. Today we're going to tell you the whole timeline, from the private flight to his arrival in Barcelona. The medical checkup, the secret dinner, his first autograph as a Barça player. And why is Hansi Flick obsessed with signing Anthony Gordon? Because this isn't just any signing. When you see his numbers, you'll completely understand why Barça has gone all in on him. If we've learned anything this summer, it's that when Fabrizio Romano starts posting updates every few hours, it's because something big is happening. And that's exactly what happened. It all started when Fabrizio posted the first pictures of Anthony Gordon traveling on a private jet to Barcelona. From that moment, the deal entered its final stage. Everything was already settled. And watch out, because there's an important detail. While many journalists kept talking about negotiations, Barça already had everything all but wrapped up. The only thing left to complete was the usual protocol. The arrival in Barcelona, the medical examination, the signing, and then the presentation. But pay attention, because Gordon's arrival in Barcelona was much more revealing than it seems. And there was a detail that proves the signing was finalized before he even landed. After 3 p.m. local time, at the private terminal of Barcelona's Josep Tarradellas airport, Anthony Gordon arrived on his private jet. Because Barça doesn't improvise moves at this level. When the player gets to this point, everything was already set up and signed by Barcelona. Normally, everything is agreed upon. The next step was to go to the hospital in Barcelona. There, he passed the medical examination without any problems, some physical tests, and the usual checks to ensure that the English player arrives in perfect condition. Let's remember that Anthony Gordon has been called up by the English national team to participate in the World Cup. There was no turning back, but there's something that especially caught my attention. The thing is, during those hours, the player's entourage conveyed absolute calm. There were no nerves, no doubts, no uncertainty. Everyone knew that Anthony Gordon was going to become a player for FC Barcelona. And this shows just how much he learned it. The preparation was thorough, because Deco had been working quietly for weeks without anyone knowing he was wrapping up a signing that will give people a lot to talk about. But we need to pause for a moment, because if this signing was completed, it's thanks to Deco and his way of working. And I think Barcelona fans are starting to understand the magnitude of the work done by our sporting director. Because we're talking about a footballer who's an international with England, a starter in the Premier League, a star at Newcastle, and has plenty of suitors. And even so, Barca managed to convince him in a matter of hours. The key was speed, discretion, and Deco's planning to pull off this lightning-fast signing. While other clubs were waiting for the World Cup, Deco sped things up, because one thing was perfectly clear. If Gordon had a good World Cup, his price would skyrocket. Much more. That's why Barca acted first, and that's exactly what the best sporting directors do. Spot an opportunity before others and close the deal as soon as possible. But if anyone thinks Anthony Gordon is coming just for his goals, they're completely wrong and making a big mistake. Because Hansi Flick wants him for something much more important. Anthony Gordon is not just a winger. Anthony Gordon is a pressing machine. And this is exactly what Flick is looking for, what he loves, what has made the German coach give his approval to the sporting director to close the deal. Because when we analyze advanced statistics, we discover that Anthony Gordon is outstanding in successful pressures, sprints, recoveries, defensive intensity, and off-the-ball work. Gordon appears alongside some of the best wingers in Europe, and this is where many fans would be surprised. Because in several metrics, Anthony Gordon sits at the same table as players like Kvaratskhelia, Luis Diaz, or Rafinha. And not because he is identical to them. Obviously, there is still a difference, there is still a gap. Luis Diaz, the Colombian, or Kvaratskhelia, a player for Paris Saint-Germain, have shown some impressive numbers. Olise himself, Rafinha himself, even though this season he hasn't put up the same numbers as last season in these stats we're talking about, he's one of the best in the world. Well, even though he's not identical to all of them, the talented Anthony Gordon shares that competitive intensity required by the modern style of football Hansi Flick is building at Barça. And for the German coach, that's gold. Because the German wants wingers who attack, but also who defend. He wants them to press, to run, to suffocate the opponent. And Gordon is exactly that. Now then, do they produce offense? Well, of course, absolutely. This season, Anthony Gordon arrives at Barça with a total of 17 goals and 5 assists, which means a total of 22 direct goal involvements. And all of this, considering that he is 24 years old and playing in the Premier League, which is the most demanding competition in the world. And this means that he can still grow a lot more. Hansi Flick can bring out incredible potential from this player. And this is Barca's bet. They're not just signing the current Gordon. They're signing the Gordon who can truly explode under Hansi Flick's management. And this explains Barca's investment. Because the club believes they're bringing in one of the most complete wingers in Europe. But pay attention, because something happened last night that excited the fans. And it shows that Gordon completely gets the place he's just joined. After the medical checkup and arriving at his hotel, a fan who was in the parking lot asked him for his first autograph. And therefore, he signed his first autograph for a Barça fan. He was friendly and surprised because this fan had managed to get all the way in. And he got the most precious treasure, the first autograph from Anthony Gordon. Later, he attended the welcome dinner organized by Barça. Deco, Bojan, Alejandro Echevarria, Joao Amaral, and some other members of Barca's sporting setup were present there. Of course, his representatives and some of the players' family members were also there. It was the first big introduction, the first night as a footballer, a future Barça player. And during those hours, surely there was a lot of talk about the upcoming season. It shows he already feels part of this project. And today it's official. Anthony Gordon has already signed until 2031 as a new Barcelona player. He's the first major signing for Barça for the 2026 to 2027 season, and he perfectly represents Hansi Flick's idea. More intensity, more pressure, more speed, more hunger, and here's my question for you. Do you think Anthony Gordon will be a starter at Barça? Is he the signing that Barça needed? Can he become a world star under Hansi Flick? I'll read your comments. And if you like the signing, smash the like button. Subscribe because this is just getting started. Because after Anthony Gordon, the next target could be even bigger. And yes, we all know who we're talking about. So, family, subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next video. Barça yesterday, Barça today, Barça forever.